Hi, welcome back. Today we shall be reading Chapter 42, Kanakhala's Choice. The invitation for the peace conference had been accepted. Kanakhala rushed to Daksha's private office the minute she received a bird courier from Lothal. The door attendant tried to stop her, saying the emperor had asked him not to let anyone enter. Kanakhala brushed him aside. That order would not have included me. He asked me to meet him as soon as I received this, said Kanakhala, pointing to a folded letter. The door attendant moved aside and Kanakhala heard whispers as soon as she opened the door. Vidunmali and Daksha were speaking softly with each other. She gently shut the door behind her. "Are you sure they're ready?" asked Daksha. "Yes, my lord. Shoot's men have been practicing in Naga attire. The fraud Nilkant won't know what hit him," said Vidunmali. "The world will blame the terrorist Nagas for their beloved Nilkant's assassination." Daksha suddenly stopped him as he noticed a shocked Kanakhala rooted at the entrance. Vidunmali drew his sword. Daksha raised his hand. "Vidunmali, calm down. Prime Minister Kanakhala knows where her loyalties lie." "Your Highness," whispered Kanakhala, her eyes wide with terror. "Kanakhala," said Daksha with eerie calm, walking up and placing his hands on her shoulders. "Sometimes an emperor has got to do what has to be done." "But we cannot break Lord Ram's laws," said Kanakhala, her breathing quickening with nervousness. "Lord Ram's laws on a peace conference apply to a king, not to his prime minister," said Daksha. "But—" "No buts," said Daksha. "Remember your oath. This is wartime. You have to do whatever your emperor asks of you. If you reveal his secret without his permission, the punishment is death." "But your Highness, this is wrong." "What will be wrong is for you, Kanakhala, to break your vow." "Your Highness," said Vidunmali, "this is too risky. I think the Prime Minister should be—" Daksha interrupted Vidunmali. "We are doing no such thing, Vidunmali. If we don't have her here to organize the conference, Shiva's men will get suspicious the moment they arrive. It is, after all, the conference of Kanakhala." Kanakhala was speechless with horror. "You have been loyal to me for decades, Kanakhala," said Daksha. "Remember your vows and you will be alive. You can continue to be Prime Minister. But if you break them, not only will you be given the death sentence, you will also be damned by the Paramatma." Kanakhala couldn't utter a word. She knew that the prime ministerial oath also said that if she betrayed her liege, no funeral ceremonies would be conducted for her. According to ancient superstitions, this was a fate worse than death. Without funeral rituals, her soul will not be able to cross the mythical Vaitarani river to Pitralok, the land of one's ancestors. The onward journey of her soul, either towards liberation or to return to earth in another body, would be interrupted. She would exist in the land of the living as a pishach, a ghost. "Remember your vows and do your duty," said Daksha. "Focus on the conference." Kanakhala stood quietly on the terrace outside her home office. She loved the sound of trickling water from the small fountain in the center of the chamber. This sound was wafting gently towards her, all the way to the open balcony. It kept her mind focused and calm. She looked up. The sun was already on its way down. She took a deep breath and looked towards the street. The soldiers weren't even trying to hide. Kanakhala did not feel any danger towards the men who kept watch outside her house. They were good soldiers. They were simply following orders given to them by their commander. Kanakhala knew it was pointless to try and send a message to Lothal and warn the Nilkant. She was sure Vidunmali would have positioned expert archers along the route to bring down any bird courier. Furthermore, it was very possible that the Nilkant's convoy had already left Lothal. Her only recourse was Parvateshwar. If Lord Vrigu and he managed to reach Devagiri in time, this travesty that her emperor and Brigadier Vidunmali were planning could be stopped. But getting a message to Karachappa wouldn't be easy. Kanakhala looked at the small message in her hand. She had personally addressed it to the Nilkant. She rolled the message tightly and slipped it into a canister attached to a pigeon's leg. She shut the canister and closed her eyes and whispered, "Forgive me, noble bird. Your sacrifice will aid a greater cause. Om Brahmaye Namah." Then she threw the bird into the air. She could immediately sense the soldiers below go into a tizzy. She saw an archer emerging from the rooftop of a building some distance away. He quickly loaded an arrow onto his bow and shot at the pigeon, hitting the bird unerringly. The stricken pigeon dropped dead like a stone, with the arrow pierced through its body. The soldier quickly scattered to find the pigeon. The message would be taken to Vidunmali instantly. It would appear genuine since it was in Kanakhala's handwriting and had been addressed to the Nilkant. Kanakhala looked towards the street once again. From the corner of her eye, she saw her servant slip quietly out of the side door, using the temporary distraction of the soldiers with the fallen bird. The servant would release a pigeon outside the city walls. A homing bird set for Karachappa. Kanakhala hoped Vrigu and Parvateshwar would be able to arrive in Devagiri in time to stop this madness, to prevent this subversion of Lord Ram's laws. Subsequently, the servant had been instructed to ride hard southwards towards Lothal and attempt to stop the Nilkant and his peace negotiators from walking into a trap. Kanakhala had done all that she possibly could. The Prime Minister sighed. She had broken her vow of loyalty to the Emperor, but she sought solace from an ancient scriptural verse. Dharma mati udgrita. Dharma is that which is well judged by your mind. Think deeply about dharma and your mind will tell you what is right. In this case, it appeared to Kanakhala that breaking her vows was the right thing to do, for that was the only way to stop an even bigger crime from being committed. But she was no fool. She knew her punishment. She would not give Daksha the pleasure though. Kanakhala smiled sadly and walked back into her office. She stopped at her writing desk and picked up a bowl which contained a clear greenish medicine that had been prepared recently. She swallowed it quickly. It would numb her pain and make her feel drowsy, exactly what she needed. She ambled up to the fountain. The small pool at the base of the fountain was perfect, deep enough to keep her hand submerged. Clotting would be arrested if the wound was continually washed by flowing water. She picked up the sharp ceremonial knife that she carried on her person. For one brief moment she wondered whether she would roam the earth forever as a ghost, if her funeral ceremony was not conducted in accordance with the prescribed rituals. Then she took a hand and dismissed the fears. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharma protects those who protect it. She shut her eyes, balled her left hand into a fist and submerged it in the water. She then took a deep breath and whispered softly, Jai Shri Ram. In a swift move, she slashed deep, slicing through the veins and arteries on her wrist. Blood burst out in a rapid flood. She rested her hand on the side of the fountain and waited for death to take her away. It doesn't change the plans at all, Your Highness, said Vidunmali. A stunned Daksha was sitting in his private office, having just received word of Kanakhala's suicide. Your Highness, said Vidunmali when he didn't get a response. Yes, said Daksha, still reeling from shock, looking distracted. Listen to me, said Vidunmali. We will go ahead with the plans as before. Soot's men are ready. Yes. Your Highness, said Vidunmali loudly. Daksha's face suddenly showed some focus as he stared at Vidunmali. Did you hear me, Your Highness? Asked Vidunmali. Yes. Everyone will be told that Kanakhala died in an accident. The peace conference will continue in her memory. Yes. Also, I have to go. What? Daksha seemed to panic. I told you, Your Highness, said Vidunmali patiently, as if he was talking to a child. One of Kanakhala's servants is missing. I fear he may have set out to warn the fraud Nilkant. He has to be stopped. I'm going to ride out myself, towards the south, with a platoon. But how will I manage all this? You don't have to do anything. Everything is under control. My soldiers will find a way to bring Princess Sati into the palace. Nobody else from her party will be allowed to accompany her. The moment she is with you, signal my man who will wait at your window. He will shoot a fire arrow high in the air, which will signal to Soot's assassins that the coast is clear. They will then quickly move in and kill the fraud Nilkant. They will also leave a few of Shiva's people alive, so they can testify that they were attacked by Nagas. Daksha still looked nervous. Vidunmali stepped up and spoke gently. You don't have to worry. I have planned everything in detail. There will be no mistakes made. All you have to do is signal my man when Princess Sati enters your room. That's it. That's it? Yes, that's it. Now I really need to go, Your Highness. If Kanakhala's man manages to reach the fraud Nilkant, it will be the end of our plans. Of course, go. Those sons of bitches, scowled Kali. Jadav Rana, the ruler of Umbergaon, had just rowed up to the Naga fleet in a fast cutter. His small kingdom lay to the south of the Narmada. The Nagas had helped him on many occasions, and Jadav Rana was not an ungrateful man. When the fishermen in his kingdom informed him of a large Meluhan fleet stationed in a hidden lagoon nearby, he had gone personally to investigate. Keeping himself concealed, Jadav had seen the massive fleet and immediately surmised that this has something to do with the war raging in the north between the Nilkant's force and the Meluhans. He had also received news that the Nagas themselves were racing down the western coast towards the mouth of the Narmada. He had immediately got into a fast cutter to intercept the Nagas before they entered the river that marked the southern boundary of the Sapta Sindhu. He was convinced the Meluhans intended to take the Nagas by surprise and attack them from the rear. Your Highness, said Jadav Rana, I assumed the Meluhans would enter the Narmada after you and assault your rear guard. They could devastate your entire fleet before you even realized what had happened. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a forward ambush planned for us as well, said Karthik. We will attack them in their hidden lagoon, said Kali. We will burn their ships down and hang their rotten carcasses on the coastal trees. Ganesh had remained silent till now. Something was amiss. Your Highness, how many Meluhans are there? 50 ships, Lord Ganesh, said Jadav Rana. It's a reasonably large force, but you have more enough ships to take them down. I didn't ask you about the ships, Your Highness, said Ganesh. I asked how many men. Jadav Rana frowned. I don't know, Lord Ganesh. He then turned to his men. Do you people have any idea? It's difficult to be sure, my lord, since they have largely remained on ship, said one of Jadav Rana's lieutenants. But judging by the amount of food they have been foraging, I don't think there would be more than 5,000. You have many more men, Lord Ganesh. You can win very easily. Ganesh held his head. Bhumi Devi, be merciful. A stunned Kali stared at Jadav Rana's lieutenant. Are you sure? Just 5,000? Jadav Rana was surprised. He didn't understand why the Nagas looked upset. Logically, they should have been happy. They outnumbered the Meluhans dramatically. My men are well acquainted with this course, Your Highness, said Jadav Rana. If they are saying that the Meluhans number only 5,000, I would go with that number. We have been taken for a ride, said Ganesh. There's no attack planned on Panchavati. They were trying to divide our forces and they succeeded. A worried Karthik looked at his elder brother. They are probably attacking Lothal even as we speak. And we took 100,000 men away from Ma, said a distraught Ganesh. Kali turned and yelled the order at her Prime Minister Karkotak. Turn around now! We are going back to Lothal. Double rowing till we get there. Move!